Good afternoon, race fans. Welcome here as we get set for race number 34 of Season 4 of the NCAA Duracell Cup Series, playoff race number 8, race number 2 of the third round, the round of 8, here at Talladega, the wild card race to set the stage for us into who potentially could be our final 4 in the season finale, heading into next week's race at Rockingham or North Carolina Speedway. This is going to be an interesting one, folks, because there's two different ways that this Talladega race could fall. Number one, it could fall the way that we're used to. 3 wide, 4 wide racing, the dreaded big one looming around every corner, and this could turn into a race of survival for our remaining 8 playoff contenders. On the flip side, though, something we saw in the non-charter qualifying session earlier on today, we may end up seeing fuel strategy come into play. Long green flag run. Who do you come down pit road with? How many come down with you? Where do you find friends? Where do you find alliances to be able to draft with? There could be a huge mental game of chess out there today in this 38 lapper, and it could very well be a deciding factor into a number of our 8 playoff contenders. Who's moving on and who is not as early as right now, regardless of what happens next week at Rockingham. Now, some drivers, after last week's race at Boston, they're coming off some really good performances, so they've got a little bit of breathing space here today. And of course, if they have another good run at Talladega, they may be going into Rockingham completely worry-free. But on the flip side, there's a number of drivers that struggled last week at Boston. If they get involved in a wreck here today, finished way down the running order, they could be going into Rockingham in a must-win situation. One of the tougher tracks on the circuit, technically, in terms of Rockingham, and you have to win. It's a must-win situation at that track. That is a tall task to ask for a driver. But Carson Gum gets good starting track position here today. He is a driver that has had a lot of momentum on his side the last couple of weeks. Of course, picking up his first win in the elimination race back at Arizona. That moved him here into the round of 8, and then had a solid outing last week at Boston as well. Worked his way up through the field, finished up inside of the top 10. Subsequently, your points leader of the remaining 8 playoff drivers coming into this race as well. He'll be alongside of Jacob Thibodeaux. Thibodeaux is trying to become the second 3-time winner on the season. Adam Garcia already holds that distinction, but Thibodeaux, of course, had those back-to-back wins during the playoffs about a month or two ago at the Charlotte Roval in Indianapolis. He would love to be able to join Garcia as a 3-time winner. You've got a former champion in Ryan Acosta. He hasn't been to victory lane yet this season, nor has V Almariego alongside him in the 42, or Levi McIntire there, completing the top 5. I mean, we talk about Talladega, Daytona, the super speedways always seem to be the underdog stories. These are drivers that are still looking for their first wins on the season. Could it take place here at the super speedway? Who knows? I see a lot of other guys back there that are still looking for their first win on the season as well. Up inside the top 12, you got Matt Haas back there in the 8, Cole Baker in the 11, James Qualls in the 54. So there's a lot of guys that still have an opportunity to find victory lane here today. But we got to find out what's going to happen here. It's 38 laps of unpredictability. At the end of the day, we will know how Talladega played its part, but until we get to that point, we're just kind of left speculating. So, without further ado, let's go down trackside. Let's get those most famous words in motorsports, and let's get these cars rolling off the grid. Get this thing going.
Drivers, start your engines!
Check down the description below for your full official starting lineup for today's Geico 500. Your point standings coming to this race, it's going to be very simple to tell it to you since we've now whittled the field down by 50% of where we were when we started the playoffs back at Richmond. Of the 8 remaining playoff contenders, right now Carson Gum is your points leader. He holds 4 points over Zach Rogers, 5 points over T Wright, who, bear in mind, is the only driver so far this season to have a super speedway victory. That was back in the season opening Daytona 500. 12 points back is C Dollerton. He is the guy everybody's gunning for right now. He is the cutoff line driver, is the season 1 champion. 4 points behind him, but that cutoff line that is Dylan Young. He's 5th in the standings. 7 points back behind the cut line is J Millz in 6th. Keith Batson, right now a total of 12 points back. He is 7th in the standings, and Jordan Lopez did not have a good performance last week at all at Boston International. He is a total of 18 points behind C Dollerton for that final transfer spot into the championship for at Homestead, Miami. Bear in mind, however, Jordan Lopez is a former winner here at Talladega, winning back in Season 1. Now, Talladega Superspeedway usually a mainstay on everybody's schedule. However, this is only the third time in 4 seasons that drivers will be taking the green flag here. This track was actually replaced on the schedule by Armory Digital Superspeedway back in Season 2. So only 2 drivers have gone to victory lane at the Superspeedway in the past, Lopez being one, the defending winner of this race back in Season 3, Benny Watson, who was in the field here today looking for his second win on the year. I don't know if anything's in it, but we ran 19 laps in the non-charter race earlier on today. The driver that won the race, Michael Roode, led 11 of those laps. The guy that finished second, Rob Evans, led 6 of them. So if you lead laps, you got a good chance of finishing up at the front, at least according to our non-charter race. Don't know if that's going to be the case in this one. Carson Gum certainly hopes to, as he's going to be the one to lead us here to the green. What will the landscape look like heading into Rockingham next week? Talladega is about to play its part as the Geico 500 is green. Let's roll. Expect to see all of our 8 playoff contenders by hook or by crook try and get up here and lead a lap. That bonus point could be very important heading into next week as well. With that being said, how much blocking will Carson Gum do here in the early stages to make sure he comes around to lead the first lap? 3 wide behind him, Matt Haas, Levi McIntire, Adam Garcia going into turn 3. Looks like Ryan Acosta staying glued to the bumper of the neon yellow Sharpie Chevrolet. Carson leaves the door open there on the inside, though. Ryan Acosta trying to get to the left rear quarter panel, can't quite do it. And Carson Gum's going to lead them double and 3 wide behind him to the start-finish line. He'll get the bonus point for a lap led on lap number 1. Look at this back here, though. Matt Haas caught in the middle. Jessica Shelton in the middle. 3 wide, about 4 or 5 rows deep right there. In the middle of that is our Daytona 500 winner, T Wright. A couple of playoff drivers on the inside line there. 98 of J Millz and the 2 of Dylan Young trying to make their way up here to the front. Both those drivers right now coming into this race behind the cut line. Cole Baker, former Daytona 500 winner. So we know he's good at the super speedways. Now going to move into the 3rd spot. And last week's winner, R Brommer, who picked up his 2nd win on the season. Now trying to take the 4th position away from J Thibodeaux. He's got C Sandfer in the 0-3 in tow. Gotta wonder if Sandfer and Shelton and Deaver, if they might be a little bit worried in this race. I don't know if there's really anything in it, but had some transmission problems for their teammate Kyle Matthews back in the non-charter event earlier on today, so don't know if that's something to be looming in the back of their minds or not. As Carson Gum continues to control which lanes are moving. Back here, though, I was seeing them almost 4 wide. They've kind of settled it out now. Things rather scattered in the mid portion of the field and then wadded up towards the rear. Now they're 4 wide. In the tri-oval, Allen, Brock, Gardner, and Parker, and they're leaning on each other there. But they made it work. Credit to them. Some drivers, when it comes to super speedways, they want to go up to the front. Other drivers want to fall to the back and ride in the early stages. That's apparently the strategy for Chris Dollerton. Cutoff line driver back here in the 37th position, just hanging out. Matthew Rodriguez, Jack Mitchell back here as well. A couple of the non-charter drivers, Nathan Amiedo, Michael Roode, who won the non-charter event earlier on today. And now they're wadded up towards the front, 4 wide. Carson Gum, they've dislodged him from the lead, and he is heading to the back. Almariego, Shelton, and McIntire had him way up on the top in a 4 wide situation there through the tri-oval as Ryan Acosta now goes to the point. Charles Sandfer into 2nd, and J Millz now under fire from C Llamas, who has no friends on the inside line right now. Now he'll pick up some drafting help from R Brommer. It was going to be a battle for 3rd, now it's a battle for 4th, and now Almariego gets around him, so Llamas drops back to the 5th position. Now, I mentioned the fact that Talladega was not on the schedule back in Season 2. Armory Digital took over that slot. Winner of that race was Jessica Shelton. So, not a win at Talladega, but in the same spot in the schedule. So, certainly worth making note of that, as she's going to work her way now up into the top 5, get around Jose Millz, and unofficially in the 4th position. There's Keith Batson. Batson's been a real under-the-radar driver here during the playoffs, that's for sure. Did not have the performance he was looking for last week, though, at Boston. 7th of the 8 playoff contenders coming to this one and trying to fight his way up to the front, get himself that lap-led bonus point. As we are almost 4 wide back here again, that's the former Talladega winner, defending champion Jordan Lopez. He was forcing the issue there on Patrick Smith, J Qualls, and R Brommer. Following in the tire tracks of Patrick Smith, Cole Baker just behind him in the 11. It's around the time when we end up having our first and only caution back in the non-charter race. Everybody, for the most part here, there have been some 3 and 4 wide situations, but they've done a pretty good job of giving each other space, as up front, maybe a battle for the lead. And V Almariego takes a look. Nobody was there to help him, though. Shelton stayed up on the top. Ormond stayed up on the top. Now the Ford's going to go to work on them, though, as Batson and A Garcia going to move into P3 and P4, respectively, out of turn 4. And Batson's not done. He's going to try and take second place away from V Almariego. And A Garcia going to keep the Blue Oval Alliance, going to follow with him. Ooh, maybe not. He wanted to tuck down there, but Charles Sandfer had a big push from Patrick Smith. And he's going to take that momentum to the inside of both the 42 and the 23. Michael Norman has found his Michael Norman Motorsports teammate Cody Llamas. They're making forward progress towards the front. Both of them looking for their first wins of the season. We're going to go 3 wide for second. Smith to the bottom, Batson to the top, Sandfer in the middle. This all going on behind R Acosta, who's just enjoying the view. Both out the windshield and in his rearview mirror, actually. Watching for the powder blue 75 of Benny Watson back there. I think he's on the top side of a 3 wide situation, so he's actually going backwards rather than forwards. Defending winner of this race. You'd have to think if there's a track that's most difficult to go to victory lane in back-to-back seasons at, it would have to be a super speedway. And Carson Gums, remember we saw him falling towards the back? Well, our entire front row is working their way back to the front again. Gum and Thibodeaux have found each other and are back up inside of the top 10. Carson Gum now to the inside of M Haas. That would be for 6th. Thibodeaux right now unofficially in 8th position. And Carson Gum's going to tuck up to the back bumper of Cole Baker. And he's going to push him to the front. Of course, Carson Gum and Cole Baker, they were teammates at one time here in the Duracell Cup Series, so not surprised to see that alliance going on at this point in time. Doesn't take long to work your way from the back to the front, as shown here by a couple of the non-charter transferees, Arthur Xavier and Rob Evans. Xavier finished, I believe it was 4th in the non-charter race earlier on today. Rob Evans finished runner-up to Michael Roode. And they have now worked their way up into the top 10. Last time by, Xavier was scored in 10th. Evans was scored in 11th. And they have improved on that here on this lap. Actually, Tristan Allen back there in the 15 is about to get up here inside of the top 10 as well. Cross the line in 9th. Actually, 11th, sorry. Carson Gums worked his way back to the front. So we know that 19 car is strong, qualified on the pole position, which means it's really good out there by itself turning qualifying laps. Usually those cars aren't so good when they get back in traffic, but Carson Gum faded back outside the top 10, maybe the top 15, slowly, methodically worked his way back up into the clean air. A Garcia behind him in second. It's all bright yellow up here at the front. Neon yellow and bright yellow with Gum, Garcia, and Arthur Xavier. Well, we're closing in on the time. We're going to start talking about fuel. Now, heading into the non-charter race, we're going to follow this action here towards the mid-portion of the field where they're 3 and 4 wide racing, but I originally, coming to this weekend, was looking at 19 to 21 laps that these drivers would have to go to be able to make it on one tank. And the non-charter qualifying session proved me wrong. Saw a number of drivers diving onto pit road as early as the completion of lap 16. Good chunk of the field were able to make it the full 19 laps of that event. So we don't really know just how far these drivers can go, if they can go past the lap 19 threshold or not. But might see some of these drivers here short pit in the next few laps or so. And if that is the case, there could be some of these drivers that would have to make 2 pit stops in this race. There could be some who might be able to make it on just 1. But the field's going to get spread out. That's one thing we know. If we have green flag pit stops, the field's going to get spread out. Which means that the opportunity to be able to save fuel then is going to be a lot harder than it is right now when everybody's in a big group. So that could actually throw into question if anybody would be able to make it on just 1 pit stop. Do we have some drivers pitting already? Things got really single-filed out there. No, apparently not. Apparently there's just a whole lot of jostling for position in certain portions of the field and single file in others. But that was a rather odd-looking formation out of turn 4, if I do say so myself. That's Rob Evans. Now going to make his way around Arthur Xavier. He'll be the highest running non-charter driver now, with Thibodeaux pushing him. And if Carson Gum continues on the path that he's on right now, he's going to lock up another bonus point for most laps led here today. I don't know how many he's actually led at this point in time, but I think he has led the most of any driver so far in these first 14 laps. His teammate's not too far back. Just saw Charles Belding in the middle of a 3-wide situation, and, well, looks like he's starting to drop back now. As some teammates have found each other, playoff contenders J Millz and T Wright. That's a difficult situation if you're Blue Oval Automotive. I mean, obviously you want to work with your teammates when it comes to super speedway racing, but at the same time, you've got Lopez, T Wright, and J Millz all battling for playoff positions. Now, the best scenario for the team would be all 3 of them taking up 75% of the Final 4 at Homestead, but the odds aren't necessarily in favor of that. More than likely, 1 or 2 are going to have to miss out. And was that Dollerton? That was Dollerton. Dollerton has lost the draft, possibly off the pace. And that is not good for the former champion, who is undoubtedly going to go a lap down here under green flag conditions. It's making me wonder now if the Kyle Matthews issue from earlier on today might have actually not been a transmission problem, but might have actually just been a case of what happens when a car loses the draft. Now, he did throw a block there on these guys. Let's see if once he's merged with the pack, if he'll be back up to speed. But he's gonna have to, honestly, I'm trying to think of what scenario could happen right now that could play into his favor and get him back into contention. And the only thing I could see is he would have to stay out longer than everybody else, have himself scored back in the lead lap, and catch a caution. And I just don't think that's going to be the case, especially with the fact he spent who knows how many laps there running by himself with no drafting help. Well, you knew Thibodeaux had that run to turn 1. He wanted to make the move on Acosta. Acosta threw the block. This time Thibodeaux was not going to be denied. And we got some drivers pitting. T Wright is in. Thibodeaux's pitting from the lead. Oh my goodness. Talk about rush hour traffic as everybody starts wadding up, trying to get onto pit lane. Oh no, we got a car that ran into the back of another back there. That was Benny Watson, the defending winner. He got the 36 of Natan Amiedo, so that's a lot of damage sustained on both of those drivers. That's going to be an extended pit stop, and I'm not necessarily certain that that might not take the 75 out of this race. That's a tough break there for Benny Watson. Look at the run Carson Gum got there to the outside of Cole Deaver. Mitchell Collins. These guys still have to make their pit stop. Who's got the guts to make it to lap 19? The completion of lap 19, that is. If none of these guys do, I don't think anybody's going to be able to make it on fuel. Carson Gum and Dylan Young, as well as the lap machine of Chris Dollerton, they were the ones that stayed out that extra lap. Looks like Matthew Rodriguez may have already made his pit stop, potentially. Can't tell, there might be damage on that 57. There's Thibodeaux leading the first group off of pit road over Cody Lamas and Tristan Allen. Time will tell where everybody cycles around. I think Levi McIntire won the battle off pit road of the second group. And the caution is out. Yellow flag is going to wave just after the pit stops were completed. So, unlike a number of our races in the past, we don't have a caution come out right in the middle of the pit stops. Everybody should still be on the lead lap, I do believe, with the timing of this yellow. And I'm wondering, is Levi McIntire going to be the leader? I mean, when did the yellow come out? Did it come out before or after Levi crossed the start-finish line? If it came out before, then Levi would definitely be the race leader. And it looks like he is. Yeah, it looks like all those drivers made it back to the start-finish line to the caution, coming off of pit road before Jacob Thibodeaux and company came around to receive their caution flag. But what brought this yellow flag out now is the question. Ooh, Zach Rogers has got some front-end damage there on the 6. Playoff contender, second in points. I don't think it was the incident with Watson and Almariego. I don't think that brought out the yellow. So we're going to have to try and check back through the replay, see if we can find out what brought this caution flag out. I don't think anybody's going to hit pit lane here, because everyone was just on pit road 1 or 2 laps ago. So Levi McIntire is going to be the one to lead us back to green, as we're going to be reaching the halfway point this time by. Somebody did duck to pit road. A couple of drivers. Cody Lamas, T Wright, Rob Evans, Adam Garcia, Michael Norman. Some strategy calls here. 8 of Matt Haas, I just saw there was some back-end damage, so he might have been a part of whatever this yellow was. So as some drivers come down to take service, most of the field decides to stay out. Let's go back and see what brought out the first caution of the day here at Talladega Superspeedway. Well, I went back, I looked at the time that the lights came out atop the pace car. Nothing happened on the track as far as I can see, so might have been a phantom caution, might have actually been a debris caution, because we saw a lot of torn up machines there. We're going to show you some of the incidents coming on to pit road here that led to drivers sustaining said damage. Focused on the 36 of Nathan Almariego here. He was at the very tail end of the pack. Now watch on the right side of your screen here, unless the camera angle changes, you're going to see Benny Watson come into view. Now everybody here is having to really back it down. All trying to get organized, getting onto pit lane. Watson comes in really hot. He just, oh wow, just never was able to get on the brakes. Straight into the back of the 36 of Nathan Almariego. It's amazing that Jordan Lopez, who was just up ahead of the 36, didn't get involved in that stack up. Phil Parker might have gotten a tiny bit there into the passenger side door, but not much. Another driver I want to focus on here, and I think this might have been coming off of pit road. Zach Rogers in the 6. Now he's got Matt Haas behind him. Alright, so here coming off of pit road, Keith Batson's into the back of him. Here comes the 8 of Matt Haas out of his pit stall, and yeah, there's just, oof. Nowhere for Rogers to go. I don't think that's going to take Rogers out of this event, but it's certainly going to, I would think, bring him down pit road. That's going to have his car like a parachute if they don't get that hood beaten down or taken off or something. That's going to have him off the pace. Rogers came into this race only 8 points to the good over the cut line. And with the damage sustained there, this could put him in an iffy situation going into Rockingham next week. So let's try and settle everything out, figure out who's where, and reset here for the second half of this race with a bit of a phantom caution coming out here on lap 18. Green flag set to come back out here on lap 23 of 38, so 16 laps will remain in this one, as Levi McIntire will be bringing us back to the green. Cole Deaver in second. He'll have his teammate Charles Sandfer behind him in third. Highest running playoff driver, Carson Gum, the pole sitter, in fourth. And our winner from the non-charter race earlier on today, Michael Roode, will complete the top 5. William Brock is in sixth. Playoff contender Dylan Young right now in seventh. Only 2 playoff drivers up inside of our top 10 currently, with Jacob Thibodeaux, Tristan Allen, and Cole Baker completing the top 10. Seacrest Dollerton, 1 lap down. He is in the 41st position. He bypassed Benny Watson, who unfortunately 1 season after taking the checkered flag here at Talladega will be finishing shotgun on the field here today. 40 of our 41 drivers on the lead lap here for this restart. A number of drivers ducking onto pit road, some to repair damage, some to top off the fuel tank. 2 drivers of our Elite 8 up inside of this top 10. Dollerton 1 lap down, so where are the other 5 restarting? Next one would be J Millz in the 14th position. Keith Batson's going to restart back in 22nd. T Wright in 26th. Then you got to find Zach Rogers all the way back right now in the 38th position. Jordan Lopez just behind him in 39th. Tell you what, Jordan Lopez, that's a driver that cannot afford another bad run here after the hardships he had last week at Boston. Green flag back in the air here at Talladega. Levi McIntire going to tuck down in front there of Chris Dollerton. You got to wonder if McIntire's going to be willing to work with Dollerton. Those two, of course, were teammates back in Season 1 when Dollerton won the championship out of Rockin' Ranch Racing. And if you're Dollerton, you're hoping for more cautions. You're hoping for more wrecked race cars right now, because every car you pass is a position. Every position is a point. And he was the cutoff line driver coming into this Talladega race. Carson Gum tried the middle, got forced to the top. William Brock trying to help him as they're 3 wide, 3 rows deep from about 10th position on back. Dollerton right now on the lead lap as they run. Tail end of the lead lap. He wants to see a yellow flag right here, right now. Ooh, the way they're leaning on each other back there, he might have possibly gotten it. That was Vince Almariego, Jessica Shelton that got together. Arthur Xavier there as well. Ooh, this is tight. Oh, I don't like this on the back straightaway. This 4 wide formation is going to continue all the way down the back and maybe into turn 3. Arthur Xavier and Shelton continuing to lean on each other. Ooh, T Wright going to keep it to the inside there for 4 wide. And now they're going to go 4 wide, 2 rows deep with Belding and M Haas up the middle. This is one of the sketchiest things we've had so far here today. We got to keep an eye on this area of the track because this could be where the big one is looming. Settled to 3 wide there, at least for that second row, but we're still 4 wide up here. Xavier still to the right rear quarter panel of Shelton. Brock trying to tuck back down in front of Tristan Allen, who's actually going to move down to the middle line. I think we got out of it. Somehow we got out of 2 4 wide situations. And as all this has been going on, if you can keep an eye up there at the front, J Qualls just went to the point. Buddy Quentin Moore going to move into the 2nd spot. Vince Almariego now up to 3rd. Jesse Turner in 4th. And T Wright now up in that 5th position. And here comes Quentin Moore for the top position. Quentin Moore, of course, made his first career Duracell Cup Series start back in the season opener, the Daytona 500, qualifying his way in, I believe it was in one of the duels. So very good at the super speedways as Moore's making his 9th start on the year here today at Talladega. T Wright trying to get the 2nd position from Vince Almariego. I noticed Keith Batson back there. So 2 playoff drivers now up inside of the top 5. I saw J Millz was working his way to the front, but he's since been kicked up to the outside line. Now, we went back green with 16 laps to go. That's around the time that most of our race leaders decided to come down pit lane. Anywhere from lap 16 to lap 18 was around where most of the field came down pit road. So the question is, of the drivers that did not top off under that yellow, are they good to make it the rest of the way? Saw that T Almariego back there at the tail end of the field. He's trying to stay with the lead group. Of course, has all that back end damage when Watson ran to the back of him during the green flag pit stops. So that car is somewhat off the pace and looks like he might be losing the pack. 3 wide from the 5th position on back. Phil Parker still chasing his first Duracell Cup Series win of his career. N Ormond on the inside pushing him. T Wright looking for the top spot. Unlikely drafting partners here in this 4-way battle. You got a Dodge pushing a Ford, and you had a Ford pushing a Toyota, but I said this back in the non-charter race, and it holds true at any super speedway. Doesn't matter what the manufacturer, what the history is with the driver. If someone's going to help propel you forward, you are going to work with them. I just noticed there, Phil Parker's got a buckle on the hood. That might have been from some stack up on pit road there as well. It's not affecting him apparently, as he's been able to work his way up here to the front, and drivers have apparently been willing to push him, so it's not hindering him in any way as far as speed, it would appear. As R Brommer, came up about maybe a wheel short of leading that lap. T Wright going to get that bonus point. That's important for a playoff contender. I think the only driver so far before T Wright led that lap of a playoff contender to lead a lap, I think, was Carson Gum. Might be wrong, but I think it was. Brommer looking for his 3rd win on the season, looking for back-to-back victories after his victory last week at Boston International. As they continue 3 wide back there in the midway portion of the field. Haven't seen them test the waters of 4 wide again since we had that 4 wide 2 rows deep, and somehow they all were able to make it through unscathed. As things stand right now, with where drivers are running, just visibly looking at this field, the only driver right now that looks like he would have absolutely no worries in advancing into the Final Four next week at Rockingham is the 2nd place running T Wright. He was 7 laps to the good, 3rd in the overall standings for the 8 remaining playoff contenders coming into this race. Right now, in line for a potential top 5, maybe a win, which would automatically secure him into the Final Four, let's not forget. Everybody else, Carson Gum is kind of faded out of view. Zach Rogers, they're actually about to catch him and put him a lap down. That was his machine you saw up ahead, and that engine you hear idling just in the beginning portions of our camera shots. And Chris Dollerton, the cutoff line driver, is currently trapped 1 lap down. So who is able to capitalize on some of these drivers having issues, as Zach Rogers causing some havoc there for his teammate, R Brommer. Which lane does he choose? He has them all stacked up here. This could be bad with them all stacking up, because this will give him the opportunity to go 3, maybe 4 wide again. Brommer trying to go around the outside of Rogers. Does Rogers give way? He does. So he's going to play some defense there for his teammate. Brommer gets clear. Now he'll move out of the way of T Wright, as N Ormond actually went around as well. So a couple of dodges moving to 1st and 2nd, courtesy of a Dodge that was just put off the lead lap. We talk about green flag pit stop splitting everybody up. This is going to split a lot of drivers up as well, with them having to all navigate their way around Zach Rogers. Zach Rogers has just got to pick a lane. Everybody else has got to go accordingly. Rogers can't be moving back and forth there, trying to accommodate different people. Certainly don't want to see another caution come out. As LaPlante going to tuck in front of Adam Garcia to make his way around. Certainly changed up the top 15, that's for sure. One driver that actually was able to get by was Carson Gum, so he's back up inside the top 10. T Wright and Tristan Allen, saw the 2 of them working against R Brommer and N Ormond. They made quick work of those dodges. Put right up to the point. Tristan Allen into 2nd. William Brock just came off pit road. That was a regularly scheduled stop for the 88. Remember, Tristan Allen is a winner in a charter race earlier on this season at Bristol Dirt. He would love to join Dylan Poteet as a two-time winner as a non-charter driver this season. And does anyone duck to pit road this time with Brock on pit road the last lap? Is this when we start to see drivers heading for pit road if they cannot make it? Not yet. Another driver that's popped up here. A couple of drivers popped up inside the top 10. How about Matthew Rodriguez in the 57? And just to his outside, Carter Friesen in the 37 is in this picture. That's another two drivers that are looking for their first victory on the season as Carson Gum moves by Cody Llamas up to third. Trying to coast to coast here at Talladega. He'll move up and draft Tristan Allen. Ryan Brommer is going to get the drafting help from Arthur Xavier. So a couple of Chevrolets trying to propel their lanes forward. Nathan Ormond with a big push from another Chevrolet and Matthew Rodriguez. Where will he take that? Looked to the inside of Arthur Xavier, but wasn't able to generate the run quickly enough. There's Levi McIntire, who led us back to green after that phantom caution at the midway portion of this race. Mitchell Collins going by him up at the 22. Collins, former playoff contender, got eliminated after the first round. Two-time winner, looking for his third win on the season. And this next time by, it's going to be 3 laps to go. So we're going to start to get an idea now of just how close these guys are on fuel. Ooh, we looking 4 wide back here into 3? Yes, we are. Almariego, Batson, Friesen, and Llamas. Things settle out as Adam Garcia almost pushed up into Trey Wright's left rear. And here comes some drivers to pit road. Allen, Gum, Xavier, Batson, Almariego. Ooh, comes that second pack. Slow it up, guys. Saw what happened earlier when a driver came flying in. Looks like all these drivers made it. We had 2 playoff drivers in that group, by the way. Carson Gum and Keith Batson. Turns the race lead over to Nathan Ormond. 2.5 laps remaining. Does anybody here have enough fuel to make it to the end? Would they be willing to gamble? I'm looking at those guys that topped off the fuel tank back during that caution. Any of them, would they be able to make it the extra lap? Ormond stays out. Brommer stays out. LaPlante and Rodriguez stay out. Mitchell Collins in the 22, though. He ducked to pit road. Also saw the 36 of Natana Miedo on pit lane. Top 4 have broken away. 2 of these drivers already have won this season. Nathan Ormond and Ryan Brommer. 2-time winners, the pair of them. LaPlante and Rodriguez, they're looking for their first wins on the season. LaPlante looking for his first win since midway portion of last season. Matthew Rodriguez looking for his first win since all the way back in season 1 at Arizona. And I don't think they're coming this time. They're going to stay out. They'll see the white flag this time by. It's going to be 4 drivers to settle it out. They're almost wrecking up ahead. They are wrecking up ahead. Matt Haas and Cole Baker. The caution is going to come out. The race is going to be over. The leader had not taken the white, and they're all plowing in. Trey Wright, Carter Friesen, Ryan Butcher. Friesen's upside down. Turner is involved. Lopez is in it. Matt Haas. There was another car upside down I couldn't make out before he teleported to pit road. There's Butcher. And Brommer was not yet to the start-finish line when that wreck took place. The race is going to end under yellow. And Ryan Brommer, if he can make it back around with what he's got in that tank, even if it's fumes, he's going to be a 3-time winner this season and go to victory lane in back-to-back races. And if you think about the fact that he got eliminated back in the first round of the playoffs, if he were still here, last week he would have locked himself into the playoffs, and this week he would have locked himself into the playoffs. Wow, I would have loved to have seen this thing finish out, though. Would have loved to have seen this final lap run to the finish. We just needed a maybe 100 feet, 200 at the most, before that contact took place. But I saw a number of drivers back there that were playoff contenders involved in that wreck. And, oh, wait a minute. We got some drivers run out of fuel. Michael Norman just kind of moved off to the right as if someone was running out of fuel up ahead. I think these guys are coasting. They're coasting to the start-finish line. Ryan Brommer's going to make it, though. How about that? Ryan Brommer, first time in his career. He is a 3-time winner in the Duracell Cup Series in a single season, as he will win the Geico 500. And listen to the engines. Very silent. Uh-oh. Someone run out of fuel back there? Yeah, they're crawling. They're trying to make it there. Garcia made it. Brock's gonna make it. All these drivers trying to make it. Oh, some had to pit. Carson Gum had to pit. Some of these guys couldn't make it back to the start-finish line. What's this going to do for the scoring? I think they'll still keep their positions, maybe, of where they were scored when they last crossed the line, but they'll all be put one lap down, possibly. I don't know. Well, we'll figure that out in just a moment. Two things we know for certain. Number one, that was a pretty big wreck there at the start-finish line, coming to what was going to be the white flag. Eventually ended up being the race-ending caution flag. The second thing we know, Ryan Brommer is officially the winner. Back-to-back wins, and a 3-time winner here this season, joining Adam Garcia as the only driver to hold that distinction here in Season 4. Let's go back and see what happened to end this race under caution, and then we'll come back and settle it all out as far as the official finishing results. So how does this start? Let's see. There's your race leader, Ryan Brommer, just entering into view. There's the rest of the top 4. Cole Baker looks like he was trying to move up to give J Shelton room, but he had such a run on the slower car of M Haas, he hooks him in the left rear quarter panel. M Haas tries to come back up onto the racetrack, and I think he and the 11 just, they hooked into each other. I think they got caught on each other. Sheet metal to sheet metal, both of them up into the outside wall. Now there's the race leader, just barely squeaking on by. There's Rodriguez and LaPlante and Ormond. They're just barely going to make it by, but there's other drivers back behind that are not going to be nearly as lucky. I think one of the first ones I saw take a shot was the 28 of T Wright. Watch the right side of your screen. Cole Baker, he's going to get hit from Cody Lamas and J Lopes. It was T Wright and Michael Norman who get the 8. Carter Friesen comes flying in, hits the 11 of Cole Baker as he's upside down. Everybody else trying to race back here. This is the thing, too, because they're all racing back to the caution. So nobody's going to lift. Everybody's going to try and pick a lane. Hope nobody else is there. There's Jesse Turner getting some damage. I want to see about the 11 of Cole Baker and the shot that he took there. There's where the 78 of Ryan Butcher was involved. Actually, the 11 got up in the air. Watch this as the roof's going to come completely off the racing surface as he's upside down. And I think that was from the contact with Cody Lamas right there. Yep, that car is completely off the ground. There's Lopez in the 38. Oh, you saw Carter Friesen on the brakes. Car was sideways. Just couldn't direct it away from the 11. He goes up and on his roof. There's Ryan Butcher. Nowhere for him to go. Chris Dollerton, I don't know if he made it back to the start-finish line, which he did. Might have actually picked up quite a number of spots right there if these drivers were not able to drive away from the incident. I think everybody else gets through this wreck. So that's about, what, 6, 7, 8 cars involved. 2 of them out of Blue Oval Automotive, playoff contenders. The 28 of T Wright and the 38 of J Lopes. And right there, whew, the defending champion trying to reclaim his title. He was running 13th at the time. I don't know where he crossed the start-finish line. We'll find out that in a moment. But if it wasn't in the 13th position, this is a guy that I think could very well be in a must-win situation next week. As might be a couple of other drivers as well. We'll settle all that out here in just a moment because we don't know what the official results were. The scoring is still continuing on to try and figure out who crossed where, who was running where at the time of that wreck, coming to a white flag and a caution flag. So a lot of stuff has to be cleared away before we officially know. We're going to give them the opportunity to do that, and then we'll come back and show you the full figure results and figure out how Talladega, in typical dramatic fashion, has set our stage up for our final elimination race next week at North Carolina Speedway. Standings are official now, and it looks like a couple of drivers might not be as bad off as I originally thought. But we're going to have to obviously wait and see what it looks like when all the points are added up. So Ryan Brommer is officially the winner. Matthew Rodriguez just barely coming up short yet again, as he's going to finish in second. Austin LaPlante in third. Good run for those drivers there that really weren't up inside of the top 10 till the closing stages. Nathan Ormond, good run in fourth, and Michael Norman brings it home in the fifth position. Levi McIntyre led some laps today. He's going to be sixth. Troy Wright's going to be the highest finishing playoff contender. He'll finish in seventh place. He was 8 points to the good above the cut line coming into this race. I'm not going to say that he's absolutely locked into the Final Four, but things are looking really good for that 28 car because he has so far had back-to-back weeks here in the round of 8 where he's had good performances. Carter Friesen's going to finish in 8th despite the fact that he was upside down crossing the start-finish line. Patrick Smith is going to finish in 9th, and Ryan Butcher is going to complete the top 10. Number of those guys there, the 28, the 37, the 77, they were all involved in that wreck coming to the white flag. 78. Sorry, 28, 37, 78. They were all involved coming to the white flag. Adam Garcia is going to finish the day out in 11th. Rob Evans will be the highest finishing non-charter driver in 12th. Jordan Lopez, mentioned he crossed the line in 13th. He did manage to limp it back around to finish in 13th place. And he was the last car to actually cross the start-finish line according to our scoring. So he will end up finishing inside the top 15. It's still not the run that he absolutely needed to have, but it is decent enough that he might not necessarily be in a must-win situation next week at North Carolina. So that is the good news for the defending champ. The other playoff contenders, where did they finish? Well, Carson Gum, who came in the points leader, 16th place. Not great, not terrible, but he still, I think, is going to be above the cut line heading into next week. Keith Batson, 17th place. He was, 12 points behind the cut line. He might have needed to do a little bit more. I think he'll still be below the cut line, but still, I think mathematically a shot to point his way in. J Millz was 7 points behind the cut line. He finishes down in 21st. So he's actually going to lose some ground, I think, to that cut line area. I think he'll still be down below the cut line heading into Rockingham next week. And then we start getting down to drivers that this was not the day they wanted to have. Dylan Young, I don't think we talked about that 2 car at all today. He was a non-factor in today's race. He finishes in 27th place. He was 4 points back behind Chris Dollerton coming into this one. He is going to bypass Dollerton in the point standings. He might just barely be into the Final Four right now. He might be the cutoff line driver heading into next week. The aforementioned Chris Dollerton finished 1 lap down, but he passed a number of drivers there in the closing stages that got involved in that wreck, so he'll finish in 35th. Still not the run he was looking for after he fell a lap down under green flag conditions very early on in this race. Dollerton might find himself either the cut line or below the cut line driver heading to next week. Zach Rogers, that's another guy that's going to be down there around that cut line area as well, as he finishes 1 lap down in the 39th position after getting involved in a pit road incident during the first and pretty much only round of green flag pit stops. Well, I guess we could say first of 2 rounds because we did have some drivers hit pit lane in the closing stages of this race as well. Rogers was 8 points to the good coming into this race. So right now, as things stand, 2 drivers that might be pretty comfortable going into next week, Carson Gum and Trey Wright. Everybody else, I think, are going to be very closely compacted mathematically of who might be moving on, who might not next week at North Carolina. I think it's going to be very, very close in terms of points and in terms of finishing positions next week in our final elimination race. So they're going to have to earn it, no doubt about that, as to who's going to advance into the Final Four at Homestead, Miami in a couple of weeks' time. But Ryan Brommer, how about him? Great job. Back-to-back wins. It is the second time that a driver has won back-to-back races this season. Thibodeaux, of course, did it back at Charlotte and Indianapolis, and he now is a 3-time winner with only Adam Garcia this season, is Ryan Brommer. So the disappointment of not making it past the first round of the playoffs Right now, though, the elation of being a 3-time winner here in Season 4 of the Duracell Cup Series. I know you guys are dying to see the point stand, so I'm not going to make you wait any longer. We're going to finish up our coverage here from Talladega. We'll look forward to next week at Rockingham. Check down, actually, what am I saying? I'm starting this race all over again. Check the description for your starting lineup. Not that it matters right now. But thanks everybody for tuning into this race. Hope that you guys enjoyed this event from Talladega Super Speedway. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, part of the crew today. We have shown you the full finisher results, and these are the point standings going into next week. Keep an eye on 4th position. How many points above, how many points below. That's how close it's going to be when we take to Rockingham next week to find out who our final 4 for the championship are going to be here in this 4th Duracell Cup Series season. But hope you guys enjoyed this race. I will see you guys next week as you've been watching another production of the SRA, all flying racing at its best. So long from Talladega.